Maya Richardson squinted at her phone screen, her fingers moving quickly over the keypad as she balanced her weight against the kitchen counter. The cupcakes were cooling on the rack, their chocolate scent filling the small apartment. She had exactly 43 minutes before her twins, Jacob and Jamie, would burst through the door from their playdate, expecting their 7th birthday celebration to begin. "Perfect," she whispered, admiring the photo she'd just taken of the handmade banner strung across the living room wall. The words, "Happy Birthday, Jacob and Jamie," were painted in wobbly, colorful letters, evidence of her late-night effort after the twins had gone to bed. She quickly typed a message to her mother. "Look what I managed to pull off. Can't wait for you to come over tonight. The boys will be so excited to see their grandma." She attached the photo and hit send. Maya placed her phone down and returned to the cupcakes, carefully beginning to frost them with blue and green icing, the twins' favorite colors. Her phone buzzed. Expecting her mother's enthusiastic response, she glanced at the screen. Instead, she saw an unfamiliar number had replied, "I think you have the wrong number. Nice banner, though." Maya's cheeks flushed with embarrassment. She'd mistyped her mother's new number. "So sorry about that," she typed back quickly. "My mistake." She was about to set her phone down when it buzzed again. "No problem. Those for your kid's birthday. Looks like you put a lot of work into it." Maya hesitated, then replied, "Yes, my twins are turning 7 today. Just a small celebration, but trying to make it special." She wasn't usually one to engage with strangers, but something about the friendly response made her smile. The reply came almost immediately. "My mother raised 3 of us on her own. I remember how she'd stay up all night making our birthdays special. Your kids are lucky." Maya's fingers hovered over her phone. Her shoulders relaxed slightly as she typed back, "Thank you for that. Sometimes it feels like no one notices the effort." She returned to the cupcakes, working faster now. Time was running out. Her phone buzzed again. "Trust me, they notice. Maybe not today, but someday. What are their names?" Maya hesitated for just a moment before responding, "Jacob and Jamie." 3 dots appeared as the stranger typed, then, "Good, strong names. Hold on." Maya raised an eyebrow, but she had no time to wonder about the cryptic message. She quickly finished frosting the cupcakes and moved on to wrapping the twins' presents, new backpacks for school and books they'd been asking for. It was all she could afford this year. The toy store action figures they really wanted were well beyond her budget, especially after her hours had been cut at the hospital where she worked as a medical receptionist. 20 minutes later, her phone buzzed again. She'd almost forgotten about the wrong number text. The message simply read, "What's your address?" Maya's fingers froze above her phone. The friendly exchange suddenly felt uncomfortable. "I'm sorry, I can't share that information," she typed back firmly. The response came quickly. "Of course, that was inappropriate of me. I apologize. I was going to send something for the boy's birthday, but I understand your caution. Perhaps there's a store near you where I could order something to be picked up." Maya stared at her phone, conflicted. Who was this person? The exchange felt surreal, yet something about the messages seemed genuine. Still, she knew better than to trust a stranger. "That's very kind, but unnecessary." "Thank you for the thought, though. I understand. I'm Robert Hayes, by the way. You can Google me if that helps. CEO of Meridian Technologies in Boston. My assistant Diana can arrange everything officially if that makes you more comfortable." Maya's eyes widened. Meridian Technologies was a well-known company. On impulse, she opened her browser and typed in the name. There he was, Robert Hayes, featured in several business articles, his face serious but kind in the professional headshots. He appeared to be in his early 40s, with salt and pepper hair and the confident posture of someone accustomed to boardrooms. Her phone buzzed again. "No pressure. Just wanted to do something nice. My mother would have approved." Maya bit her lip, then made a decision. She typed back, "There's a toy store called Wilson's on Maple Street. The boys have been wanting action figures from the Defenders series, but please don't feel obligated. Consider it done. Diana will call the store. They can hold it for pickup under your name." Maya felt a wave of emotion wash over her. "Thank you, that's incredibly generous. Just paying forward what others once did for my family. Enjoy the celebration, Maya." She was about to respond when she realized she'd never told him her name. A chill ran down her spine. How did he know? She quickly scrolled up through their conversation, confirming she hadn't mentioned it. She was typing, "How did you know my name?" when her doorbell rang. Frowning, Maya set down her phone and walked to the door. Through the peephole, she saw a delivery person holding a large box. She opened the door cautiously. "Delivery for Maya Richardson?" the young man said cheerfully. "I didn't order anything," she replied, confusion evident in her voice. "It's been paid for already, from Wilson's toy store." He handed her the box and a receipt. "Have a nice day." Maya closed the door and set the box on the coffee table, her hands trembling slightly as she read the receipt. 2 Defenders action figures, the exact ones Jacob and Jamie had been begging for, plus a gift card for future purchases. The sender information simply listed RH. Her phone buzzed again. She picked it up slowly, seeing another message from the unknown number. "I hope I got the right ones." My assistant called the store and described what was popular for boys that age. Maya stared at the message, then at the box. How had he arranged this so quickly? And more importantly, how did he know her full name? Her thoughts were interrupted by the sound of keys in the door. The twins were home. The next few hours passed in a blur of excitement, cake, and presents. Jacob and Jamie were overjoyed with their surprise action figures, which Maya explained had come from a friend. By the time her mother arrived for dinner, and the twins were happily playing with their new toys, Maya had almost forgotten about the mysterious text exchange. After putting the boys to bed, Maya sat alone at her kitchen table, staring at her phone. She should be creeped out, she thought. A stranger had somehow found her name and sent gifts to her children. But something about the interaction felt more intriguing than threatening. Taking a deep breath, she typed a new message. "The boys loved the action figures, thank you. But I have to ask, how did you know my name?" The reply came almost instantly. "Your area code is from here in Boston. I had Diana check the hospital employee directory since you mentioned working as a receptionist. Only one Maya with twins that age. I hope that's not too alarming. I wanted to make sure the gifts went to the right place." Maya read the message twice. It was alarming, yet the explanation made logical sense. She was still formulating a response when another message appeared. "I realize how that sounds. I crossed a line. I apologize." Maya hesitated, then typed, "It was unexpected, but thank you for the kindness today." The dots appeared as he typed, then, "My calendar says I'll be at Mass General for a board meeting next Thursday. Would it be completely inappropriate to offer to buy you coffee, just to prove I'm not actually a creepy stalker?" Maya stared at the message, her heart suddenly racing. What was happening here? Maya stared at Robert's message for a long time that night, her thumb hovering over the keyboard. The rational part of her brain screamed caution. Meeting a stranger from a wrong number text was exactly the kind of scenario she warned her patients about at the hospital. Yet something about their exchange felt different. After 20 minutes of internal debate, she typed a response and hit send before she could change her mind. The coffee shop across from the hospital, Thursday at 2 p.m., just to say thank you in person. The next morning, Maya woke to a simple reply, "I'll be there." The following week passed in a blur of routine, getting the twins ready for school, working her shifts at the hospital, helping with homework, and collapsing into bed exhausted each night. The boys had barely put down their new action figures, creating elaborate battles across the living room furniture. Maya found herself smiling whenever she heard their excited chatter, though a nagging voice in her head wondered what she was getting herself into by agreeing to meet Robert. By Thursday morning, Maya had convinced herself to cancel at least 3 times. She drafted messages on her lunch break, only to delete them immediately. As 2 p.m. approached, she found herself in the bathroom at the hospital, applying a touch of mascara and lipstick that she rarely wore to work. "You look nice," commented Denise, her co-worker, as Maya returned to the reception desk. "Hot date?" Maya felt her cheeks flush. "Just meeting someone for coffee." Denise raised an eyebrow. "About time. It's been, what, 3 years since Daniel left?" 2 years and 8 months, Maya corrected automatically, then regretted it. "And it's not a date, just a thank you coffee." "Uh-huh," Denise grinned. "Well, whoever deserves this thank you must have done something pretty special." Maya smiled non-committally and checked her watch. 1:55 p.m. "Cover for me? I'll be back in an hour." The coffee shop was busy with the afternoon rush when Maya pushed through the door. She scanned the room nervously, not entirely sure what she was looking for despite having seen Robert's photos online. Would he come with an entourage? Would he even show up at all? Maya? She turned to find a man standing behind her, taller than she had expected from the photos. He wore a suit that she instinctively recognized as expensive, though he'd removed the tie and unbuttoned the collar. His salt and pepper hair was slightly tousled, as if he'd run his hands through it. He looked simultaneously more approachable and more intimidating than his online photos suggested. Robert. She extended her hand formally, immediately feeling awkward about the gesture. He shook it with a warm smile. I grabbed us a table in the corner, less noisy. He gestured toward a small table partially hidden by a decorative plant. I hope that's okay. Maya nodded, following him through the crowded shop. She noticed several people glance his way with vague recognition on their faces. When they reached the table, she saw 2 cups already waiting. I took a chance and ordered you a latte, he said, but I can get you something else if you prefer. A latte is perfect, actually. Maya sat down, suddenly feeling self-conscious in her plain hospital scrubs. Thank you again for the boys' gifts. They haven't put those action figures down all week. Robert smiled, the corners of his eyes crinkling. I'm glad I got it right. Diana, my assistant, has a son about their age. She knew exactly what to get. An awkward silence fell between them. Maya sipped her latte, trying to think of something to say that wouldn't sound inane. Robert spoke first. I should explain about the other day. I realize how strange it must have seemed. Finding out my name and address within minutes was a bit concerning, Maya admitted. He nodded, looking genuinely contrite. In my position, I'm used to having information at my fingertips. I sometimes forget that what seems efficient to me can come across as intrusive to others. I apologize. Maya studied him, trying to reconcile the powerful CEO with the man sitting across from her, looking almost vulnerable. Why did you do it? The gifts, I mean. You don't know me. Robert's expression softened. Your text came through during a board meeting. I was sitting there listening to people argue about profit margins, and suddenly there was this photo of a handmade birthday banner from a mother trying to make her kid's day special. He paused. It reminded me of my own mother. She raised us alone after my father died. I remember her staying up late making birthday decorations because store-bought ones were too expensive. Maya felt an unexpected pang of connection. The boy's father left when they were 4. He's in Seattle now with his new family. Does he see the twins? Twice a year if we're lucky. He sends checks sometimes when he remembers. Maya surprised herself with her candor. She rarely discussed Daniel with anyone outside her immediate family. Robert nodded, his expression neutral. My father didn't have the luxury of choice. Heart attack when I was 9. My brothers were 7 and 3. I'm sorry, Maya said sincerely. It was a long time ago. But I remember how hard my mother worked. 2 jobs, still making time to show up for every school event. He smiled faintly. When I saw your text, it was like seeing her again for a moment. Maya felt her defenses softening. Still, most people wouldn't have done what you did. I'm not most people, Robert said simply. And I was in a position to make 2 kids happy on their birthday. Why wouldn't I? Before Maya could respond, her phone buzzed. She glanced at it apologetically. Sorry, I should check. It might be about the twins. It was a text from Denise. Dr. Winters looking for patient files. Where did you put them? Maya sighed. I need to get back. Work emergency. Robert stood immediately. Of course, thank you for meeting me. I know it was an unusual circumstance. Maya gathered her purse, feeling a strange reluctance to leave. It was nice to meet you, Robert. He hesitated, then pulled a business card from his pocket. My direct number, in case you ever need anything. For the boys, or... He trailed off. Maya took the card, their fingers brushing briefly. Thank you. As she hurried back to the hospital, Maya tried to make sense of the strange meeting. Robert Hayes was nothing like she had expected, and certainly nothing like the men she usually encountered in her daily life. There was something both refreshing and unsettling about his directness, his apparent lack of agenda beyond genuine kindness. The rest of her shift passed in a fog of distraction. By the time she picked up the twins from their after-school program, she had convinced herself that the meeting was a one-time occurrence, an unusual story she might tell someday. Nothing more. That evening, as Jacob and Jamie played with their action figures, Maya found herself taking Robert's business card from her purse, running her thumb over the embossed lettering. On impulse, she entered the number into her phone. 3 days later, while shopping for groceries with the twins, Maya's phone rang with an unknown number. She answered distractedly while trying to prevent Jamie from adding another box of sugary cereal to the cart. "Maya Richardson?" The female voice was crisp and professional. "Yes, this is she." Maya turned away from the boys, mouthing, "Put that back," to Jacob, who was now eyeing the candy display. "This is Diana Chen, Mr. Hayes' executive assistant. I'm calling to inform you that your application has been processed and approved. Congratulations." Maya frowned in confusion. "I'm sorry, what application?" There was a pause. "For the Meridian Family Scholarship. For your sons, the full tuition at Westbrook Academy." Maya's hand gripped the shopping cart. "There must be a mistake. I never applied for any scholarship." "Oh," Diana's voice faltered slightly. "I see. Perhaps Mr. Hayes intended to discuss this with you first. I apologize for the confusion." "What exactly is this scholarship?" Maya asked, her heart beginning to race. "The Meridian Family Scholarship covers full tuition through high school graduation at Westbrook Academy for children of single parents. Mr. Hayes established it 5 years ago. Your sons were added to the recipient list yesterday." Maya felt the blood drain from her face. Westbrook Academy was one of the most prestigious private schools in Boston, a place she dreamed of sending the twins, but had dismissed as impossibly out of reach. "I need to speak with Robert," she said, her voice tight. "Of course. I'll let him know you called. He's currently in—" "No," Maya interrupted, her voice stronger now. "Tell him I need to speak with him today. This isn't appropriate." After a moment's hesitation, Diana responded, "I understand. I'll relay your message immediately." Maya hung up and stared at her phone, a mixture of emotions churning within her. Who did Robert Hayes think he was, making life-altering decisions for her family without even consulting her? And yet, beneath her indignation was a tiny, traitorous flutter of hope. Westbrook Academy would give her boys opportunities she could never provide on her own. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Robert. "I apologize for Diana's premature call. Can we meet to discuss this? I'm canceling my afternoon, just say when and where." "You had absolutely no right," Maya said, her voice low but intense. They sat in a quiet corner of the Boston Public Garden, far enough from other park-goers that their conversation wouldn't be overheard. It was unseasonably warm for late autumn, golden leaves drifting down around them as they faced each other on a wooden bench. Robert had the grace to look contrite. "You're right, I overstepped." "Overstepped?" Maya repeated incredulously. "You made a life-changing decision about my children without even mentioning it to me. Who does that?" "Someone who isn't very good at personal boundaries, apparently." He ran a hand through his hair, a gesture Maya was beginning to recognize as a sign of discomfort. "I should have discussed it with you first." "Yes, you should have." Maya crossed her arms, trying to hold on to her anger despite the genuine remorse in his expression. She'd left work early, calling in a rare favor from Denise to pick up the twins from school. The entire drive to the park, she'd rehearsed what she would say, how she would firmly establish boundaries with this man, who seemed to think his wealth gave him the right to interfere in her family's life. Robert started, then stopped. "The boys are bright. You mentioned they love reading. Westbrook has an exceptional program for gifted children." "That's not the point," Maya said, softening despite herself. "You can't just fix people's lives because you have the means to do it." "Why not?" The question was simple, his expression genuinely curious rather than challenging. Maya blinked, momentarily thrown by his directness. "Because it's presumptuous, because it creates an imbalance, because it makes me feel like a charity case." "You're not a charity case," Robert said firmly. "The scholarship exists to help promising students who wouldn't otherwise have access to elite education. It's been running for years. Your boys qualify. Single-parent household, academic potential. The only unusual thing was that I personally recommended them, rather than going through the normal application process." Maya looked away, watching a young family with a toddler feeding the ducks at the pond's edge. "You've known us for a week, Robert. You've never even met Jacob and Jamie. How could you possibly know what's best for them?" "Fair point," he conceded. "I made assumptions based on what you told me. That was wrong." They sat in silence for a moment, the tension between them gradually easing. Finally, Maya spoke again. "Why did you really establish that scholarship? And don't tell me it was just philanthropy." Robert was quiet for so long that Maya wondered if he would answer at all. When he finally spoke, His voice was softer than she'd heard before. After my father died, my mother worked herself to exhaustion trying to give us opportunities. She cleaned offices at night so she could be home when we returned from school. She sewed our clothes because she couldn't afford store-bought ones. He paused. We were on the waiting list for a scholarship program at a private school in our neighborhood. 1 slot for 3 brothers. My mother pinned all her hopes on that opportunity. "Did you get it?" Maya asked. Robert shook his head. The day before the decision was announced, the school's major donor added his nephew to the recipient list. Just like that, our chance was gone. His jaw tightened at the memory. When I founded Meridian, one of my first priorities was establishing a scholarship fund that couldn't be manipulated by donor influence. Maya studied his profile, seeing him differently now. And yet here you are, influencing it. He met her gaze directly. Ironic, isn't it? I've become what I despised. The honesty in his voice disarmed her. I didn't say that. You didn't have to. He sighed. The scholarship offer stands, but with no pressure or expectations. The boys would need to take the entrance exams like any other applicants. If you're interested, Diana can send you the standard application materials. If not, I'll respect your decision completely. Maya nodded slowly. I'll think about it. That's all I ask. Robert checked his watch. I should get back. I have a video conference at 4. As they stood to leave, Maya found herself reluctant to end the conversation. Thank you for explaining, and for understanding why I was upset. Thank you for calling me out on it, he replied with a small smile. Not many people in my life do that anymore. They walked together toward the park entrance, their pace unhurried despite Robert's impending meeting. Tell me about your company, Maya said, genuinely curious now about the man beside her. What does Meridian Technologies actually do? Robert's face lit up with unexpected enthusiasm. We develop medical technology, specifically minimally invasive surgical tools. Our latest project is a microsurgery system that allows for more precise neurosurgery with less trauma to surrounding tissue. That's actually fascinating, Maya said, surprised by his passion. I thought you'd be one of those tech CEOs making yet another social media platform. Robert laughed, the sound unexpectedly warm. Disappointed? The opposite, actually, Maya smiled. My father was a surgeon before he retired. I grew up hearing about the limitations of surgical tools. Is that why you work in healthcare? Maya shrugged. Partly. I always wanted to be a doctor, actually. Life had other plans. The twins? Yes. I was in my 2nd year of pre-med when I found out I was pregnant. Daniel and I got married, but then he decided fatherhood wasn't for him when they were 4. She rarely shared this part of her story, but something about Robert made it easy to talk. I couldn't manage medical school as a single mother of twins. Robert nodded thoughtfully. Have you ever considered going back? Every day, Maya admitted. But the timing never seems right. The boys need stability, and medical school is expensive. Even with loans. They reached the street where Robert's driver waited with a sleek black car. Before they parted, Robert turned to her. Would you and the boys like to have dinner sometime? No hidden agendas or surprise scholarships, just a meal. Maya hesitated only briefly. I'd like that, but somewhere kid-friendly. They're 7, remember? I'll find the most kid-friendly restaurant in Boston, he promised with a smile. And Maya, thank you for giving me a second chance. As Maya drove to pick up the twins, her mind raced with conflicting thoughts. Part of her still felt wary about Robert's involvement in their lives. His wealth and power created an inevitable imbalance. Yet she couldn't deny the connection she felt to him, the ease of their conversations. For the first time since Daniel left, she found herself genuinely interested in someone new. Over the next few weeks, a surprising routine developed. Robert joined them for pizza on Friday nights, sitting cross-legged on Maya's living room floor, while the twins showed him their latest Lego creations. He brought board games that the 4 of them played together, Robert displaying unexpected patience when Jamie inevitably tried to change the rules. He never arrived empty-handed, but seemed to have learned his lesson about extravagance, bringing modest gifts like books or art supplies rather than expensive toys. The boys adored him, particularly Jacob, who peppered Robert with endless questions about technology and business. Maya watched their growing bond with both joy and trepidation. She'd been careful not to define Robert's role in their lives, introducing him simply as Mom's friend. But she couldn't help worrying about what would happen if this unusual relationship didn't last. On a chilly December evening, after the twins had gone to bed, Maya and Robert sat together on her small balcony, bundled in coats and sharing a bottle of wine. "I submitted the application," Maya said suddenly, "for Westbrook Academy." Robert turned to her, surprise evident on his face. "You did?" She nodded. The boys deserved the opportunity. Their test scores came back well above grade level. The admissions director seemed impressed. "That's wonderful, Maya." His smile was genuine. "When will you hear back?" "After the holidays." She took a sip of wine. "I'm trying not to get my hopes up. It's still a competitive process, scholarship or not. The boys are exceptional. They'll make it." Maya smiled at his confidence. "Thank you for everything these past weeks. The boys look forward to seeing you." "Just the boys?" Robert asked softly. Maya felt her cheeks warm, and not from the wine. "You know it's not just them." Robert reached out, taking her hand in his. It was the first time he'd initiated any physical contact beyond friendly hugs, hello and goodbye. His palm was warm against hers in the cold night air. "Maya, Her phone rang suddenly, the shrill sound cutting through the moment. Maya frowned, pulling her hand away reluctantly. "It's almost 10 p.m. No one calls this late unless it's an emergency." The number on the screen was unfamiliar. "Hello?" she answered cautiously. "Mrs. Richardson. This is Lisa from Memorial Hospital. We're calling about your mother, Eleanor Richardson." Maya's blood ran cold. "What happened? Is she okay?" "Your mother was brought in after a fall at her home. She's stable, but the doctors would like you to come in." "I'll be right there." Maya hung up, already standing and gathering her things. "My mother's in the hospital. I need to go." "I'll drive you," Robert said immediately. "What about the boys?" Maya's mind raced. "I need to call my neighbor. She watches them sometimes." "Let me stay with them," Robert offered. "They're asleep, right? I can be here if they wake up and you can go to your mother." Maya hesitated. She trusted Robert, but leaving her children with him overnight was a significant step. Seeing her uncertainty, he added, "Or I can drive you all to the hospital, whatever you think is best." "No, you're right. Let me leave a note for the boys in case they wake up." Maya quickly scribbled an explanation and left it on the kitchen counter. "Thank you for this." The drive to the hospital passed in tense silence, Robert occasionally reaching over to squeeze her hand reassuringly. When they arrived, he insisted on coming inside with her. At the reception desk, Maya gave her mother's name and was directed to the 3rd floor. As they stepped out of the elevator, a familiar figure stood waiting in the hallway, a tall man with sandy blonde hair and a face Maya had once known better than her own. "Daniel!" she said in disbelief. Her ex-husband turned, his expression unreadable. "Maya, finally. What are you doing here? Where's my mother?" Daniel's eyes flickered to Robert, then back to Maya. "Your mother is fine. There was no fall." "What?" Maya's confusion turned to anger. "Then why am I here? Why did the hospital call me?" "Because I asked them to," said a woman's voice from behind Daniel. A slender blonde stepped into view, her expensive clothing and perfect makeup a stark contrast to the sterile hospital surroundings. With a jolt of recognition, Maya realized who she was looking at. Vanessa Hayes, Robert's ex-wife. She'd seen her photo during her internet searches about Robert weeks ago. Maya turned to Robert, whose face had gone pale. "Robert, what's going on?" Before he could answer, Vanessa spoke again, her voice cool and precise. "I think it's time we all had a conversation about what my husband has really been doing with your family, Maya, and why." The hospital conference room felt unnaturally bright under fluorescent lights. Maya sat rigidly in a plastic chair, her hands clasped tightly in her lap as she stared at the 4 people seated around the table. Robert, whose face had hardened into an expressionless mask. Vanessa, elegant and composed even at this late hour. Daniel, looking uncomfortable yet determined. And a middle-aged man in an expensive suit whom Vanessa had introduced as her attorney. "Let me be clear about why we're here," Vanessa said, breaking the tense silence. "My husband—" "Ex-husband," Robert interjected coldly. "Soon-to-be ex-husband," Vanessa corrected with a tight smile, "has been engaging in a pattern of behavior that his legal team should find concerning, especially given our ongoing divorce proceedings." Maya's mind raced, trying to make sense of this surreal scenario. I don't understand what this has to do with me or my family. Daniel leaned forward. Maya, this man has been using you and our sons as pawns in his divorce strategy. Your sons, Robert's voice was dangerously quiet. That's rich, coming from someone who sees them twice a year. Stop, Maya said firmly, surprising herself with her steadiness. Someone explain what's happening, now. The attorney cleared his throat. Mrs. Richardson, we have evidence that Mr. Hayes has been systematically involving himself with your family as part of a strategy to position himself favorably in his divorce settlement. By creating a relationship with a struggling single mother and her children, he aims to present himself as compassionate and family-oriented to the court. Maya felt as though the air had been sucked from the room. She turned to Robert, searching his face for any sign of denial. Is this true? Robert's jaw tightened. No, absolutely not. Then how do you explain this? Vanessa slid a folder across the table. Inside were photographs. Robert and Maya at the coffee shop, walking in the park. Robert playing with the twins in Maya's apartment. The final photo showed them on the balcony earlier that evening, their hands clasped together. You've been having us followed? Robert's voice was incredulous. I've been protecting my interests, Vanessa replied coolly. Our divorce settlement includes significant shares in Meridian. I needed to understand why you suddenly became so interested in this family. Maya felt nausea rising in her throat. And you? She asked Daniel. What's your role in this ambush? Daniel at least had the decency to look ashamed. Vanessa's investigator contacted me. She thought I should know that my sons were being used as props in someone else's divorce drama. How noble of you both, Maya said, her voice thick with sarcasm. After 3 years of minimal involvement, you're suddenly concerned about the twins being used? Robert stood abruptly. This is absurd. Maya, we should leave. Not so fast, Vanessa's attorney interjected. Mrs. Richardson deserves to know a few more details, like the fact that Mr. Hayes has established a pattern of rescuing single mothers during previous personal crises, or that the scholarship your sons were offered is actually a tax shelter Mr. Hayes created 5 years ago, primarily benefiting his own financial interests. Maya felt as though she might be sick. Is that true, Robert? Robert's expression darkened. The scholarship fund is legitimate. Yes, it has tax benefits. Most charitable foundations do. That doesn't make it a scam. And the rest, Maya pressed, her voice barely above a whisper. Have there been other women, other families you've helped? Robert's hesitation told her everything. Maya stood, gathering her purse with trembling hands. I need to get home to my children. Maya, please. Robert reached for her arm. Let me explain. She pulled away from his touch. I trusted you. I let you into our lives, into my children's lives. What happened between us is real, Robert insisted. Yes, the timing aligned with my divorce, but that's coincidental. I've never lied to you about my feelings. How convenient that your feelings appeared exactly when you needed a sympathetic narrative for your divorce case, Vanessa commented dryly. Maya turned to her. And you? You manipulated a hospital into making a false emergency call about my mother. Do you have any idea how terrifying that was? Vanessa had the grace to look slightly abashed. That was perhaps overzealous, but I needed to get you away from your home so we could have this conversation privately. My children are at home alone right now because of your scheme, Maya snapped. They're not alone, Daniel said quickly. My sister is with them. I asked her to go over when I knew you'd be coming here. Maya stared at her ex-husband in disbelief. You involved your sister without my permission? The same sister who forgot the twins at a mall 3 years ago? Melissa has changed, Daniel said defensively, and she was the only person available on short notice. Maya grabbed her coat. I'm leaving, now. Any of you try to stop me, and I'll call security. Robert stood as well. I'll drive you home. No, Maya said firmly. You won't. Stay away from me and my children. As she stormed toward the door, Robert called after her. Maya, please, it's not what they're making it out to be. She paused at the threshold, not turning around. Then what is it, Robert? What part of manipulating a single mother and her vulnerable children isn't exactly what they're claiming? When he didn't immediately answer, she left, practically running through the hospital corridors toward the exit. Outside, she gulped the cold night air, trying to calm her racing heart as she ordered a rideshare on her phone. The betrayal cut deeper than she could have imagined. In just a few short weeks, Robert had become important to her, to all of them. The twins adored him. She had begun to envision a future where he might be part of their lives permanently, and it had all been a calculated move in a high-stakes divorce. The drive home passed in a blur of tears and anger. When she finally arrived at her apartment building, she raced up the stairs, desperate to see her children. She found them sleeping peacefully, with Daniel's sister Melissa dozing on the couch. After tersely thanking Melissa and sending her home, Maya checked on the twins once more before collapsing onto her own bed, fully clothed. Sleep eluded her. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Robert's face, the warmth in his eyes when he played with the twins, the gentle way he'd held her hand on the balcony. Had it all been an act, a strategic performance to win sympathy in his divorce proceedings? The next morning, Maya called in sick to work for the first time in years. She couldn't face questions or conversations, not when her emotions were still so raw. She focused instead on making breakfast for the twins, forcing a cheerfulness she didn't feel. "Is Robert coming over tonight?" Jacob asked, spooning cereal into his mouth. "He promised to show me how to build a robot with my engineering kit." Maya's heart clenched. "Not tonight, sweetheart." "But it's Friday," Jamie protested. "Friday is pizza and games night with Robert." "We'll still have pizza," Maya assured them, "but Robert is busy with work." The twins exchanged a look that suggested they didn't entirely believe her, but they didn't press further. After dropping them at school, Maya returned home to find her phone flooded with messages and missed calls from Robert. She deleted them all without reading or listening. Around noon, her doorbell rang. Maya approached cautiously, peering through the peephole to see Diana, Robert's assistant, standing in the hallway. Reluctantly, she opened the door. "Mrs. Richardson," Diana said formally. "I'm here to deliver this." She held out a sealed envelope. "I don't want anything from him," Maya said flatly. "It's not from Mr. Hayes," Diana replied. "It's from me." Curiosity won out over resentment. Maya accepted the envelope and opened it, finding a handwritten letter inside. She scanned it quickly, her eyes widening as she read. "Is this true?" she asked, looking up at Diana. "Every word," Diana confirmed. "I've worked for Robert for 7 years. I've seen him at his best and his worst. What's in that letter is the truth as I know it." After Diana left, Maya read the letter again more carefully. It detailed Robert's history of philanthropic work, much of it anonymous and predating his marriage to Vanessa. It described how his scholarship program had helped dozens of children access education they couldn't otherwise afford. Most surprisingly, it revealed that Robert had filed for divorce from Vanessa a year earlier, after discovering her affair with his former business partner, long before Maya had accidentally texted him. The letter concluded, "I can't tell you what to believe, Mrs. Richardson, but in 7 years I've never seen Robert as genuinely happy as he's been these past few weeks with you and your sons. Whatever his flaws, and he has many, calculation and deception aren't among them." Maya sat with this information, turning it over in her mind. Could she trust Diana's perspective? The woman was Robert's employee after all. Yet something about the letter rang true. Before she could decide what to do, another text arrived from Robert. "I know you don't want to hear from me, but there's something you should see. The entrance to Boston Commons, 4 p.m. today. After that, I promise to respect your wishes if you still want me to stay away." Maya stared at the message for a long time. Finally, after arranging for the twins to stay at a friend's house after school, she made her decision. The Commons was busy with afternoon visitors when Maya arrived. She spotted Robert immediately, standing near the entrance wearing a heavy overcoat against the December chill. To her surprise, he wasn't alone. Beside him stood an elderly woman with silver hair, leaning slightly on a cane, but standing tall and dignified. "Maya," Robert said as she approached, relief evident in his voice. "Thank you for coming. I'd like you to meet someone very important to me. This is my mother, Elizabeth Hayes." The older woman extended her hand with a warm smile. "I've heard so much about you and your boys, Maya. More than I've heard about anyone in a very long time." Maya shook her hand, confusion evident on her face. "It's nice to meet you, Mrs. Hayes, but I don't understand why I'm here." "Because my son is terrible at explaining himself when it matters most," Elizabeth said frankly. "He asked me to come because he thought you might believe me when I tell you that what happened between you two had nothing to do with his divorce." "Mother," Robert protested weakly. Elizabeth waved him off. "Hush, Robert. Let me speak. She turned back to Maya. My son has been sponsoring single-parent families since before he even met Vanessa. It started with his college fund for the children of my best friend after her husband died. Then it became the scholarship program. Then informal mentoring. It's never been about appearances or legal strategies. It's about honoring what we went through after his father died. Maya looked between them, uncertainty warring with hope. Then why didn't he deny the accusations last night? Because parts of what they said were technically true, Robert admitted. The scholarship fund does provide tax benefits. I've helped other single-parent families over the years. The timing of our relationship does coincide with my divorce proceedings. I couldn't deny those facts without lying, and I promised I'd never lie to you. What Vanessa and your ex-husband failed to mention, Elizabeth continued, is context. Robert filed for divorce after discovering Vanessa's infidelity, not the other way around. The scholarship program was established on the 5th anniversary of my husband's death, and while Robert has helped other families, I've never seen him invite anyone into his personal life the way he has with you and your boys. Maya turned to Robert. Why didn't you tell me any of this before? I didn't want to burden you with my personal drama, he said quietly. And honestly, I was afraid of scaring you away. A messy divorce isn't exactly an attractive quality in a potential partner. Partner? Maya repeated, the word catching her by surprise. Robert met her gaze steadily. That's what I was hoping for eventually. If you'll still have me. Maya felt tears pricking at her eyes, but she blinked them back. The boys have already been through one abandonment. I can't risk putting them through another. I understand that, Robert said, and I would never ask you to take that risk without being certain. Take all the time you need. I'm not going anywhere. Unless you want him to, Elizabeth added pragmatically. My son can be stubborn, but he'll respect your wishes. Maya looked between them, this powerful CEO and his straightforward mother, and felt something shift within her. The betrayal she'd felt the night before hadn't disappeared, but it was tempered now by understanding. She thought of the weeks they'd spent together, the genuine connection that had formed not just between her and Robert, but between Robert and the twins. I don't know what happens next, she admitted, but I'm willing to talk about it. Robert's relief was palpable. That's all I ask. 6 months later, Maya stood in the sunlit courtyard of Westbrook Academy, watching as Jacob and Jamie, dressed in matching navy blazers, excitedly explored their new school during the summer orientation. Robert stood beside her, his hand resting lightly at the small of her back. They look happy, he observed. They are, Maya agreed. They haven't stopped talking about the science lab since the tour. Speaking of science, Robert said casually, how are your medical school applications coming along? Maya smiled. After months of encouragement from Robert and with his offer to help with childcare and finances, she had finally decided to pursue her dream again. I submitted the last one yesterday. Now we wait. They'd be crazy not to accept you. He squeezed her hand. And if they don't, we'll figure out another path. We, Maya repeated softly. The word no longer scared her the way it once had. As they watched the twins race across the courtyard, Maya reflected on the strange journey that had brought them here, from a wrong number text to this new beginning. Life had thrown her plenty of curveballs, but perhaps this accidental connection had been the universe's way of leading her exactly where she needed to be. Later that evening, after the twins were asleep, Maya and Robert sat together on her balcony, now their balcony, since he had moved in 2 months earlier. The city lights twinkled below them, a warm summer breeze carrying the distant sounds of traffic and laughter. I have something for you, Robert said, reaching into his pocket. A little early celebration for your medical school journey. He handed her a small box. Inside was a key on a simple silver chain. What's this? Maya asked. A key to my lake house in Vermont, Robert explained. I thought we could go there next weekend, just the 4 of us. The boys can swim and explore the woods. You can relax before school starts. It could become our place, somewhere for new memories. Maya felt tears spring to her eyes as she closed her hand around the key. It wasn't an engagement ring. They had agreed to take that step slowly for the twins' sake, but it was a promise nonetheless. A commitment to building something lasting together. I'd like that, she said softly. Robert leaned over and kissed her gently. Who would have thought a wrong number could lead to this? Maya smiled against his lips. Best mistake I ever made. As the night deepened around them, Maya reflected on how life's unexpected turns, even its apparent mistakes, sometimes led to exactly where you needed to be. A misdirected text message had changed everything, opening doors she'd thought permanently closed, and bringing love back into their lives when she least expected it. Some might call it coincidence. Maya preferred to think of it as destiny.